I'm your host, Sheldon Alexander, and things are heating up in the NBA playoffs as we have 4 great series going on with, I'm going to be honest, I think every single team thinks they have a legitimate chance to win, and they could all be right. We'll get back on track for sure after a 1-3 ATS record on the last pod with some NBA picks for every game coming up in the next series, as we're still clicking at 41, 25, and 1 overall for my NBA picks on the pod. Some big boy games for sure. And let's start with the Celtics and Bucks. Game 4 is Monday night. Bucks are at home and favored by 1. And game 4 was insane. I was on Bucks -3 was the spread in that game. Bucks were, that was a weird game. I'm going to say first off, Bucks end up winning by 2. They don't cover. It was a close game, came right down to the wire, and Giannis and Drew closed this game for the Bucks. It was actually really interesting to watch because one of the things we talked about coming into this series was what would the Bucks do down the stretch without Chris Middleton? We know Giannis is that dude, but still down the stretch, Middleton was a guy who would be involved a lot in the playmaking. Without him, Giannis and Drew seem to be doing all right. But even with that, Marcus Smart almost pulled off one of the craziest plays, missing the free throw on purpose, getting the rebound. Boston had 2 tap-ins, a chance to tie the game. They couldn't do it. Either way, back and forth series continues. As mentioned, the line, Milwaukee -1. I'm going to be on the Bucks again, and it's coming down to what I've been talking about in this theme of said series. I'm just going to keep going with the Bucks when the line is short enough. And I know this is weird because I know one of the things you're going to say, the line went from Bucks -3 to now it's Bucks -1. And it's the same situation. Bucks just at home. It's not like there's someone in or out of the lineup. But the reason why I'm on the Bucks is because the Celtics, I'm going to trust on the Bucks' ability, and Giannis in particular, and even Drew, to get 2s. Yeah. Everything from the Celtics in this series has been coming from the 3-point shot, and that's not something that I'm going to bet money on come playoff time. So I'm going to be on the Bucks in this one, but what's your take so far on this series, where it is and kind of heading into game 4 with this line here, -1?
Yeah. First thing first, right? The bi-weekly updates, the under hits again, under hits again in the Celtics game, right? And it get down to 212, like just the slow molasses-like dropping of these totals, despite the fact that they go under by, frankly, a lot. As far as the matchup is concerned, I'm with you, man. I'm on Milwaukee. They're up 13 points after 3 quarters. Jason Tatum's not doing anything in that game. And you just go, how did this game even get to that point? How did it get to the point where I'm hoping that literally anything other than what happened off of that Marcus Smart missed free throw happens, right? If Milwaukee grabs a rebound, we get a foul and some free throws, right? If the Celtics get the rebound and put the ball back in, we buy ourselves 5 more minutes in order to cover a really short spread. But of course, they have to go full volleyball game situation with the basketball, and no one can sort of, get a decent shot or get possession of it if you're the Bucks. So I'm not going to beat myself up about losing that. That was, of course, one of the 2 that I lost on Saturday, where it's like, yeah, okay, I got even grabbed 2.5. I think a lot of people pushed because that actually dropped to 2, which is interesting because, as you mentioned, it goes down to 1 for this game. And I just go, okay, I get it because, you mentioned the shooting, and, we always talk about the shot quality, measurement. And this game was basically 50-50 when it came to shot quality, which is something that we talked about the first 2 games from a shot quality standpoint being about 50-50, except for in game 1, the Celtics made them all and the Bucks didn't make any. And then or vice versa, sorry, but the Bucks made them all and the Celtics didn't make any. And then in game 2, the Celtics made them all and the Bucks didn't. And it turned both of those games individually into blowouts, despite the fact that each team was creating this sort of even amount of, decent shots, right? Yeah. And so they both create them this time around to an equal extent, and they both just miss a ton of them, right? Because both
it was horrible.
But neither team could make it 3. So I'm still going to go into game 4 with the same handicap of I still think that the Bucks have a better chance to make their shots, right? And you mentioned like the closing job of Holiday and Giannis. He goes for 42. Can't complain about that. It's like, but it's the other guys, right? I need the other guys to do something. I need the other guys to make some shots. So I'm still on that vibe, so to speak. Again, 13-point lead going into the fourth quarter at home. Like I would take that every single time. And hopefully we get that chance again. And I think, the Bucks will win a little bit more comfortably this time. And by the way, they don't need to, right? At -1, they just need to win. They could win by the exact same circumstance. They could have a full bump set spike situation happening off of that missed free throw, and we'd still get there. So yeah, I'll be back on Milwaukee. And of course the under still at 212, still in the 210s for a series that just doesn't seem like it should be that high. And it hasn't been.
Yeah, it's strange, right? It's a strange series because at the end of it, both of those teams, as you mentioned, shot terribly from three. But when I look at the Celtics, it's like, okay, well, Jason Tatum was bad, 4 of 19. Al Horford only took 2 less shots than Jason Tatum. That's a weird thing that Jason Tatum only took 19 shots in that game, finished with 10 points, and they almost won, right? But you're looking at contributions. They got Al Horford in the year 2022, went for 22 and 16 in that game. Like he's had a great resurgence with the Celtics, but if that's really what you're relying on, that's not a good look if you're the Boston Celtics. Meanwhile, it's ugly for Drew Holiday. But this is something I talk about a lot in the playoffs, right? Where you look at someone's stats and it says 11 for 30 for 25 points, but it's not, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's you're looking at it and it's not telling you the full truth of the matter. Drew Holiday knows that without Middleton, he has to score at least 20 plus, right? Yeah. So however many shots he's going to put up, he's going to get there. And then of course, crunch time, he gets it done. It's just it was almost like a road performance for the Bucks, right? Yeah. Where their stars just carried them through. But bottom line, we're both on the Bucks going forward in that series as again, Milwaukee leads the series 2-1. Can they extend it to 3-1? I mean, Boston would be in big time trouble if that happens. We'll see how that plays out for sure.